Alright, so today we're going to be looking at the Keurig K-Duo Plus coffee maker and some redesigned solutions for it. The heuristics violated are the visibility of system status, user control and freedom, error prevention, and consistency in standards. We first need to address the lack of feedback in the system. We need to keep the user informed about how their actions affect the system once they make a selection on any of the given buttons, and we need to make the progress of the system clear to the user. First solution I have would be to have a flashing red light during brewing that changes to a solid green light when brewing is complete. So this is a pretty universal way to show when something's in progress and when it has completed. Or in place of having those lights, or in addition to, we could have a soft tone noise that signals that when the brewing has started, followed by a slightly louder pitch tone to indicate the end of brewing. So two different noises to show the start and the end, along with a larger screen with a progress bar that fills up as brewing is completed. Some benefits of this redesign would be that the user is able to understand what the machine is doing during daytime and nighttime use, and it is easier to determine when the coffee is finished brewing. That way you can walk away and be doing something else in the kitchen and hear the tone and run back and know that your coffee has fully finished brewing. Right now we have a really small screen with just the time. If we made this bigger and had a progress bar along the bottom, it would always be visible throughout the entire process how much time is left to finish brewing. Especially when you're brewing a larger pot of coffee for a group of people, it's going to take more time than just a single pot or a single cup, so you'd want to know if it's going to be 5 minutes or 8 minutes. And then having a small flashing light maybe next to the power button would show you that it's in progress, and then the solid green light would let you know when it's completely done and ready to go. The next redesign solution has to do with the user control and freedom. So we need to change the inability to have undo functions or actions. There's no clear exit or undo option available. So some of these buttons in the pictures here, like cancel, undo, and OK, are pretty universal symbols and words and choices that people are familiar with. So I would have a confirmation question as the second redesign solution. So after each cup size is selected, the units and option chosen would appear on that bigger LCD screen that we talked about in the first redesign solution. We'd have a bigger screen, then a question would pop up with the option to go back or continue to brew once it shows you which cup and unit is selected. We could have a back or cancel button next to the start button, and then also like an OK or confirm button to show that you're okay with that choice, and then you will be able to brew. Some benefits of this redesign solution when the wrong size is selected, the user can now reselect the proper size without worry. We can have feedback on the user's actions. It saves water and coffee from being wasted so that you don't accidentally select the wrong size and brew a whole pot or a whole cup that's actually not what you intended to brew. Prevents user frustration, is easier to return to the previous screen, and the continue or OK button will allow the user to confirm their choice. Next, we need to address that there's no design in place to prevent errors from occurring in the first place, so we need some interlocks to aid in the sequencing of this process. So the third redesign solution I have is to choose first the size or the cup of the coffee pot first, and then the brew will only start once the weight of the cup or the pot is registered by the machine. So like the picture to the bottom right, this coffee pot's resting on a little black platform. That would be a scale where the cup rests, and when any weight is felt by the machine, only then can the user continue and press start. The button will flash until it is pressed to start the brewing. Before then, if nothing is placed on that scale, it will not let you press brew to start, and this can prevent having the coffee brew just on the platform without any cup, which would obviously create a big mess. And then also another redesign to go along with this would be having backlit buttons to allow for the correct sizing selection to be made easier. So in addition to the first one with having a bigger screen and a confirmation question to select your size, would also have the bottom of the platform light up so that when you place the cup on it, you can see what you're doing in the early morning or late at night when you're making a coffee and it might not have the best lighting conditions. It can show you where to place your cup, and then the lighting can go away once the brewing is initiated. Some benefits of this redesign will be that it will not start to pour if there is no mug, so it can correct for the sleepy or distracted user who might have forgotten to put a mug there, it's not in the right place, or they walked away like mid brewing coffee and forgot. And then the backlit buttons would also allow the user to clearly see their selection during any time of day. And then lastly, we have the redesign for consistency and standards. We also need to address the buttons here. On the original design, there's a lack of consistency in the buttons. The same buttons and symbol are used for multiple functions, and there's no order. It's hard to understand if there's an order to make the selections in. So if we're selecting the cup first, and then the size, or the size and then a full pot or a single cup, gets kind of confusing to the user. So for this solution, the fourth one, I would have where the K button currently is in the center. That is to start brewing, but you only know that after a few trial and error. So I would say maybe to have a button that says start or brew, which is more universally recognized by people who brew coffee or just people in general. Then to replace the circle of buttons, I would use 2 horizontal rows of buttons instead. The first row of buttons would be for brewing a full pot of coffee, and the one underneath would be brewing for a single cup of coffee. And I would clearly indicate between a full pot and a single cup selection. These pictures here are already good, but the circle design should be linear and separated. That way it's really obvious to whoever's looking at it which one gets you to the end goal of either a single cup or a full pot. And then instead of having 6, 8, 10, and 12, I would use ounces or cups and put those units on each of the buttons, or maybe right just next to either the full pot or the cup in that line, so you know that it applies to that full row of buttons. That way it's clear to the user what they're choosing and how much water is going to come out. These new buttons would say 6 ounce or 6 cups in addition to just a number. The selection would also be displayed on the screen where the time is currently displayed. So even if you only wanted to have like the first row and the second row, and you only wanted to have the units on the first button, having that confirmation screen like we previously talked about, that confirmation question, would allow the user to know, okay, I'm either going to brew in cups of coffee or in ounces of coffee. So some benefits of this redesign would be that it better follows industry standards and user expectations, and that there's less likeliness that the user will be frustrated when they're not sure which one to choose and in which order. This makes it really simple. First you click either the full pot or the single pot, and then you select how much water, and there's less room for errors this way. Thank you for listening. That's all I have today.